What's going on, guys? This is Dave Mate. Just wanted to have a little discussion. I have a new idea. Just kind of came to me organically, naturally, so I felt like I would share it. But let's start from the beginning. When I was a kid, I just remember feeling this affinity with animals and plants. I don't know how it begun. Maybe it was some sort of past life experience. I'm not sure. But I know that when I was I don't know, 7 years old, 6 years old, I remember just going to the library and being drawn towards the biology section. I just remember taking out all these books on plants and animals and life forms, bacteria. And I remember my parents would say, "Wow, that's kind of strange, Dave. You're really gravitating towards plant life, animal life." And I just went with it. I just remember just reading these books as a young child about biology, zoology, plants. And I remember going around my neighborhood and just taking this little aquarium, plastic aquarium, just taking samples. I remember I would collect these little frogs. They were tiny, tiny little frogs. I would just study them, get books on them, help them mate and breed and study their offspring, all sorts of things. I remember collecting newts and salamanders and just different flowers and replanting them in different areas and seeing how they grow with different soils, different regions. And then when I was a little older, let's say 12, 13, I remember just going off into the woods and trying to locate different exotic flowers. And I would just remember, I remember there would be times when I would just sit there next to these plants and I would really think that I would have a conversation with them. I know that may sound kind of strange and esoteric to some of you, but I distinctly remember feeling that there was some sort of communication taking place. I didn't know how to explain it. I still don't know how to explain it, but I do feel that I can communicate with plants to some degree, and they can communicate with us. And I think that the very obvious examples would be when we consume plants. Are they not communicating within our bodies when we exhibit various health benefits from plants? Are they not communicating within our bodies when we administer them topically on our skins to fight various things, to improve our bodies in some ways? Are they not speaking to us in the forms of antioxidants and polyphenols and saponins and different acids and compounds that react in our body? And within these reactions, we feel different ways. So I do believe that plants, whether they're still growing in the earth or dried, like over here in the herb form, dry form, powdered form, they're still communicating. It's just that many of us are not open to this discussion. We're not open to this form of communication. We believe that plants are just these objects. They're just these things that grow. But didn't we evolve from plants? Didn't human beings literally evolve from plants? So anything that we have evolved from, I believe that we have the ability to look back and say, wow, well, we could communicate with anything that we come out of, we could communicate with. We're all a part of this life cycle. We're all a part of this life force. And of course, it goes back further and further than just plants. It goes back to the source of everything. So, you know, when I was about 23, 24, I took it a step further. I actually went out to California just on a whim. And, well, it wasn't really on a whim. I've begun reading a lot of books on environmentalism, conserving forests, things like this. And I read about this woman who lived in a tree for 2 years and helped save this tree, who I later met. Her name was Julia Butterfly Hill. She's still around, actually. And I just went out to California and I learned about what was going on out there. They were cutting old growth trees that have been around for 1,000 years, 500 years, in some cases 3,000 years. They're the oldest living organisms that are still alive, let's say, on the earth right now, these redwood trees. So I just felt inclined to be a part of that. Back then in 2009, I remember just living in trees. You know, I would climb up 150 feet in the air and literally live in trees. So when the loggers came to cut it, we would have to yell down and say, "Hey, don't cut down this tree. I'm up here." And then they would send people up and try to chase us around. That's a whole different story. But I just, the thing I want to convey is that I just felt drawn. I don't know what it was. I just felt drawn to go and help preserve these trees. Because again, consider trees my friend. You know, I'm friends with trees, and I'm friends with plants, I'm friends with animals. I just always felt drawn to them. I don't know. Not to say that I don't feel drawn to humans. Of course, I love my fellow humans, but something about trees and plants and animals, something is there. I feel like some people are chosen to speak for them in many ways, to be their human voice in many ways. And as you know, what I've been doing with yerba mate tea over the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years is just another example of me becoming a vessel, I believe, for yerba mate. Just a vessel for it. That's all I am. Just a vessel. So, periodically, I like to just come around my herbs over here and just experience them. Drink them, smell them, taste them. And last week, while I was examining some of my herbs, it came to me that the sound of herbs, is there a correlation between the sound of herbs and the effects that they produce within the human body? And I started to listen to various herbs, started to listen to them, because usually we taste the herbs, we drink the herbs, and then we feel the effects of the herbs. But why can't the herbs communicate with sound? I believe that they can. So I started to ask myself some questions. Are there correlations between the sounds of the herbs and how these herbs not only react in the body, but the personalities in and of itself of each herb? So I'm going to give you some clear audio in the next clip, in the next sequence. But just to give you some preliminary ideas of what I'm talking about is that, say for instance, this herb Myrtle. This herb Myrtle is a very light herb. It's very calming, light. It has a lot of space energy around it. It's used for to brighten up blends when you're using different blends. For instance, a mint blend or a lemongrass blend with yerba mate or any other herbs. You might want to use Myrtle. But when you hear the sound Myrtle, doesn't it sound like how it acts? It sounds kind of like you're on a beach. It sounds kind of like open leaves rustling through the wind. And this is how it kind of reacts in the body, I believe. In the body, when you drink a Myrtle, you're dealing with something very light, airy, open, spacious, something gentle and calm and soothing. So you're going to get that sort of sound the way that it speaks to you. It's speaking to you like a conch shell. When you put a conch shell up to your ear, it's like a soothing sound. And to continue the experiment, I continue to listen to other herbs. And I started to say, well, this herb like cacao, it has a kind of more of a sharper tone to it in terms of audible, more of an aggressive tone, and that's exactly how it feels in the body. Cacao is more of an aggressive herb, wakes you up more direct, more in your face. So it sounds like how it reacts in the body. The personality is coming through the audio of these herbs, I believe. So what I want to do is create a sort of I don't know what to call it yet. I guess an herbal symphony, where I just simply share the sounds of different herbs with you guys, and do with it what you will. It's just to get it out there. To tell you the truth, it's more for my own personal experiments, but I want to share my personal experiments with you because, in the nature of science, in the nature of creativity, the nature of sharing, maybe this will inspire you. Who knows? I don't know. It's just the infinite possibilities. So today we're kicking this off, the Symphony of Herbs, with Dave Mate, myself, with Myrtle. And that's it, guys. I hope you like it. Just wanted to share that with you. Sipping on some yerba mate. Enjoy the rest of your day. Salud. Peace out.